on today. Reform UK's Home Affairs spokesman Zia Yusuf, he unveiled their toughest set of plans for migration and security yet, from banning churches being converted into other religious buildings.
We will end the incendiary practice of converting churches into mosques or places of worship for any other faith. I'm proud to announce that a reform government will immediately grant listed status to all churches and create a new statutory use category for Christian places of worship.
And also on the menu was cancelling visas from countries refusing to take back illegal migrant deportees.
And today I can announce that based on overstaying rates and illegal boat arrivals, we will freeze the issuance of visas for countries including Pakistan, Somalia, Eritrea, Syria, Afghanistan and Sudan.
And then perhaps to the boldest of all claims, delivering all-out net negative immigration. Just to remind you how truly radical such a move would be, net migration in recent years has reached nearly 1 million in a single year in what, of course, was dubbed the Boris wave under the Conservative Party. Look at that wave, a wave that's still crashing into Britain. Well, joining me now to discuss this is the Reform UK Treasury spokesman, Robert Jenrick, as well as GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio. Mr. Jenrick, let's start with you. Operation Restoring Justice, an 8-point plan. Will it finally secure our blooming borders?
Yes, and it must. Now, what Zia said is if he is our Home Secretary, we will end the invasion on the coast of this country. And look, that is a word that many people have been squeamish about using, but it's hard to deny now, given the scale of what's happened over the last few years. We will do everything that is required to stop the boat. It will be clear that if you come here illegally, you will never, ever be able to claim asylum. You will never have a life in the UK. You will be detained, you'll be deported, you'll be removed. We will create a new force which will round up every single illegal migrant and progressively remove them from this country. We will ensure that they're sent back home to their own countries, wherever they are in the world. And if those countries, like Pakistan, for example, do not cooperate, no more visas, no more foreign aid. Those countries will be forced to take back their citizens, foreign criminals and illegal migrants who've chosen to come to the United Kingdom. And Zia also said that we are going to take on one of the biggest challenges to our country's security and way of life, Islamist extremism, and ensure that the resources of the state are focused on the biggest challenge, which are those Islamist terrorists, and ensure that they're borne down upon and that they are ultimately arrested and removed. So there is never a breeding ground in this country for that kind of extremism. I thought it was a very powerful speech, one that's long overdue, that previous Conservative and now this Labour government have always failed to tackle, and shows what the Reform government would actually do to finally get a grip on these challenges.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just living credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
And that brings me to my next point. Catherine Forster sat down with Zia Yusuf, and the first remark that Mr Yusuf said was the Tories created this situation. He said it's an invasion. Of course, people will be quick to point out that you were the Home Secretary under the Conservative government. Suella Braverman was. Is it a bit like calling the kettle calling the pot black? If you couldn't fix it then, how can you fix it now?
Well, he's right. I mean, these problems in many cases began under the last Conservative government. Some go back even further to Blair, who created this era of mass migration. But without question, the last Conservative government failed. And in particular, that period under Boris Johnson, what's now known as the Boris Wave, was one of the biggest betrayals of the British people in our modern history. Look, I was as angry and frustrated as everybody else. I fought against it. I actually managed to secure the changes to the legal migration system that are now starting to bear fruit as the numbers are falling. But on illegal migration, ultimately, when I couldn't persuade Rishi Sunak to act, when he would not change the merry-go-round of legal appeals and ensure that we hived out the European Convention on Human Rights, I resigned. And then I went onto the backbenches, and with Suella and Danny Kruger, both of whom have left the Tory party alongside me and joined Reform, we voted against the Conservative government because we were so appalled and we were not willing to be ministers, members of Parliament, saying one thing to our constituents and doing another. I'm afraid, reluctantly, we've all come to the same conclusion. You cannot trust the Conservative Party to fix immigration. That is why we need to rally behind Nigel Farage and Reform. Zia, if he was our Home Secretary, would get us out of the ECHR. We'd hand in our notice day one. We'd detain and deport everyone who came here illegally. And we'd do what is necessary to keep our streets safe again.
Robert Jenrick, as far as the visa bans for those who refuse to take back illegal immigrants or criminals, Shabana Mahmood is trying something similar, but only with countries like Ghana and Namibia, very small amounts.
It's all just performative with Shabana Mahmood. So she's chosen countries to try and puff herself up, make herself look important on this, but they're small fry. The Congo, for goodness sake, there are tiny numbers of illegal migrants from these countries.
And that
the litmus test, if I just finish with Martin, the litmus test for whether you're serious about doing this is whether you're able to apply it to one of the big contentious countries, which Pakistan is the most obvious. And because clearly there are some people in this country, in the British Pakistani community, who wouldn't like that. And Shabana Mahmood is not prepared to take on those people because she thinks they're going to vote Labour. If you're serious about this issue, you've got to confront that.
Robert Jenrick, there are around about 170,000 visas of various types granted to Pakistani nationals every year. Of course, a lot of those are tourist visas, work visas, family visas. Are you saying that if, for example, Pakistan refuses to take back their rape gang protagonists, you'll stop all of those people coming in?
Yes.
How would you do? That's a huge amount of people to block. There could be a trade war.
We put Pakistan on notice. In fact, we've done so today, that unless they change their ways and take back these criminals, whether they're illegal migrants or foreign criminals who are in our prisons, they will not get a single visa from the United Kingdom until they change their stance. We've seen other countries do this, like the United States, with success. That is the only way we'll fix this, because it is a complete disgrace and an affront to our country that the Pakistani government are expecting to get £130 million in foreign aid and tens of thousands of visas, and yet they won't do something as simple as take back rapists who are languishing in our prisons, taking up spaces that should be being used for criminals to keep our streets safe. That has to end. It will end. And we know that Zia and Nigel, as our Prime Minister, have got the courage to actually do what previous Prime Ministers were not prepared to do.
Back in the real world, the one thing that's necessary is you have to negotiate these things with other governments. I mean, you mentioned Pakistan. Shabana Mahmood is already tackling Pakistan at the moment by telling their students who overstay that they will be deported and they can't claim asylum. I understand your point about visas. I understand your point about foreign aid. the point is you still have to negotiate it. It's not something that can simply be done. And if it could simply be done, it would have been.
No, I disagree with that. Look, I've seen what it's like on the inside. And the problem is, even if you have a Home Secretary or an Immigration Minister who means business and wants to get this resolved, if you've got a Foreign Secretary and a Prime Minister who are not prepared to do the toughest things, it will never happen. And that's exactly what occurred under the last Conservative government. The British people's patience has snapped on this issue. So it's no good just having some polite conversations with the likes of Pakistan. They've got to know we now mean business. And that means you can kiss goodbye to visas. It ain't happening unless you take back those people. The last I heard from Pakistan was they were arguing over a handful of rape gang perpetrators and saying that they'd only take them back if we allowed one of their dodgy airlines to resume flights to the UK, an airline that had issues with its safety. No, enough of this. Complete nonsense. Put the interests of the British people first and use all the levers of the British state. We are not a weak country. We've just got to have the courage to use the powers that we have and put some pressure on countries like Pakistan for once.